Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth.
June is a special month because it's LGBTQ plus Pride. So each week, our guest will be a member from the LGBTQ horror community and will bring with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guest is Sam Wineman. He's a filmmaker whose award-winning horror short, The Quiet Room, is currently playing on Shudder. He's also the director of the upcoming Shudder queer horror documentary. And we hear he sings a mean parody song. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hello, friends. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy editing schedule for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
This is a treat. So I'm very excited.
A little quarantine treat. Sorry. So, Sam, how did you get into horror?
I got into horror. That's a good question. I feel like it's because I was just super fascinated by the boxes, like at the video store.
Yes.
Do you know
We've
what I'm saying?
talked about this a lot recently, actually. I feel like a lot of people have brought up, like, looking at the boxes for horror movies in the video store and how that got them, like, obsessed with horror.
Yeah, the images were lurid, and on the back, it felt like there was something taboo about it. And I think as somebody who always felt different, horror felt like a space where, like, I was drawn to this difference or this place where, I don't know, I wasn't supposed to be, but like I could.
I know that feeling all too well, especially, you know, when you're growing up and you sometimes you don't know why, but there's like, as a queer person, there's sometimes that kind of difference and you don't quite understand it. And I always found comfort in horror as well because of that. Mm-hmm.
And I also think that there's something as a kid with horror that it gives you superpowers. You know, it's like I was bad at sports. I never fit in with like the guys, but if I could watch a scary movie and other kids had to go to bed or shut their eyes, that made me like powerful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective on that. Yeah. I was the same way. I, never got into sports, was never like the cool kid. I just was that kind of weird kid that was off by himself, and horror was like a escape for us, for me, for sure.
Yeah, same here. I mean, like that was, again, I was bad at everything. Like I was not good at sports. I was an art nerd, and I watched a lot of horror movies, both like to comfort myself and to like, again, feel like I was really cool for being able to watch really scary and weird stuff. And I also was like coming to grips with my sexuality too. So I think horror was another really good place to like feel, I don't know how to put it, like, but welcome, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like, I feel like we all have this shared
Yeah.
bond, having never even met, because of our passion for horror and where it comes from. It's that thing that just draws us to it. Like, but it's
Yeah.
also the thing that connects us,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially with queer identity.
Yes, for sure.
100%.
Do you remember how old you were when you saw your first horror movie, or what your first horror movie was?
Yeah. Well, my first horror movie officially was Leprechaun. And I think I was,
That's my favorite I've ever heard for horror movies, Leprechaun.
I wish it was cool. I wish there was like some
I
great
think
horror movie. And
Leprechaun's
it's like,
really cool. I think that's amazing.
I was obsessed with it because it was like taped off of TV. Or taped off of like HBO or Showtime or something. And I don't know how old, I think I was in like third or fourth grade. And so it was like, I was young, but before that I was already staying up late on the weekends and sneaking downstairs to watch Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
I was like really weaseled in with that. Although my very first movie was probably Child's Play, even though I didn't see it. Like, I had one of the neighborhood kids who was older just like talk me through it.
That's been like a refrain that I've heard a lot on the show too, where people are like, or even on Twitter when we're asking about different movies that have scared them, and people are like, I never saw it, but people would talk me through it and it would terrify me. And I remember that we talked with Joshua Tonks, and he was talking about Scream, and the first time people were talking about it and talking through the actions of it, and it just kind of, it's scary.
I know that this is your podcast, but what were your first?
My first horror probably was actually Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
That's fun.
Very mellow, but like my dad was a big Universal Studios horror monster nerd, and so that's kind of how I got into it. I think my first like real horror movie was probably Jaws. I can't really remember. It was like one of those times where it was either I think it was Jaws.
Mine was Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one fucked me up.
Yeah.
But that was the first one I think I remember seeing. I also have a really vivid memory of watching Poltergeist for the first time and just like, nope, that movie ruined my life. And now I have a t-shirt with my favorite woman, Zelda Rubinstein, on the front because she's a queen. But
she is
she's
always.
a queen.
And also,
I love her.
Poltergeist holds the fuck up. You guys got
it really does hold the fuck up. Like, it's fucking scary.
It's scary and it's emotional.
Yes.
And that's what I always forget before I watch it is just how much it's going to work its way into like my soul by the end of it.
Yes, I had totally forgotten about that when I rewatched it. Was it last year, Terry, for an episode? But
yeah, it was our very first episode.
That's right, and I just totally forgot that it was actually like a very like affecting horror movie.
I think that who I am and the kind of horror that I like was ultimately shaped by my access to it. Like Leprechaun, come on. So obviously now I love trash.
That was Jennifer Aniston's first role, wasn't it? Or one of her first?
That's amazing. Yeah. I always forget that amazing piece of trivia. That was Jennifer Aniston's first movie.
How did you get into filmmaking? Is it something you always wanted to do, or how did you decide to pursue that career?
It wasn't something I always wanted to do, and I feel like every director that I meet is like, I knew when I was 5 years old and I held a camera in my hand for the first time. And, I didn't grow up in a background, in a very affluent background, and I didn't have access to, I think I never felt like I could dream bigger, if that makes sense. Like I knew what I was good at. I knew I was a good writer. I love doing that. And I'm like, someday maybe I'll be a writer. And that was like kind of my pipe dream. But on the side, I worked at a bookstore. I worked at a video store. I worked at, like when I was at Borders, I was in like the media section. So I was always doing stuff related to films. And I would do these things every Friday night, these movie nights where we would watch two horror movies within a double feature. And I would theme them. And horror just became this huge part of my life. I still do those movie nights. I even do them online, now because we're in quarantine.
Right.
But in building that community around film, that's like where I found my people really. And so I loved horror to the point where I was like dissecting it and like, I just knew what I wanted to see that I wasn't seeing. And that's what actually inspired me to go to film school, really. I mean, in undergrad, I taught a class in the horror film because at the school I went to, you could like get a class approved if you wrote out the syllabus. So I taught.
That's so cool.
Right. Oh my God. I wish everybody did that.
Cool. I know.
I taught the history of the slasher film.
I took a horror film class in college, but it wasn't taught by a student. But that shit was the best. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. What was like the weirdest thing or what were you the most surprised to learn in your horror film class?
So actually, the horror film class was where I learned about the New French Extremity, which I'm like super into. Like revenge is like my entire life. So I was because we watched Inside and High Tension, and it was like my entire brain was just like exploded and started watching horrific French gory horror movies, and now I'm obsessed with them. So that was probably the weirdest thing I learned.
Oh, I had forgotten how brutal High Tension was until I recently was pulling clips for the doc. I was like, Jesus. And I'd seen it before, but it's like, you forget.
It is.
Especially at the beginning with like the family. Ugh, like it is fucking brutal.
But I kind of parlayed that interest in horror. Like, cause when I was teaching that class, something I discovered is I couldn't help but teach it through like a queer lens. I just kept looking for all of like the coded that I was always contextualizing it within whatever was happening at the history at the time. Yeah. So, you know, if we were talking about Michael Myers and urban sprawl, or we were talking about the way AIDS impacted horror films, those were all topics that week after week I had structured the class around. So by the end of it, I was like, I was graduating that year or shortly after. And it was something I knew I was interested in. And I was just like, I have no experience. I had written like a zombie musical. So that was like the only horror thing that we put on at the school. And I was like,
amazing.
I guess I'll like, go try film school. And I applied as a director, and I just like really talked myself up, and I made this like film school, or I made this project on, Kickstarter because I went through a breakup. And so like out of revenge, I went, on a road trip where I went on to 12 cities in 12 days and tried to find a date in each one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I made it into like a docuseries.
Holy shit.
I was like, shit, and I put it online, and I was like, wow, if I can do this, I could direct. So I used that to apply to film school. And that was my beginning. So that's how I got into directing. Horror is something I've always loved. But of course, naturally, when I got to film school, and I was like, I'm going to use every second of this experience to learn how to make horror.
Hell yeah. That's amazing.
Awesome. I know when we talked with a couple directors in the past, they said that when they were in film school that they got pushback from their directors because they were interested in horror. Was that an issue with you, or?
You know, I always wonder if I got pushback because it was horror, or I got pushback because of my personality, because I definitely I was not very well liked by the administration.
Oh.
And
damn the man.
Well, you know, if I see something that isn't working, I like to try and provide a solution, you know, and sometimes, and in our year, you know, we didn't have women on our thesis committee. It just was I kind of helped gather people and really fight for, you know, against the system that was not intersectional. Wow. So by the time my film came out, which was a thesis, so The Quiet Room was actually my thesis film.
Oh shit! Really?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh well, that's a damn good thesis film. God.
Oh, thank you.
That's actually a good transition to that, because the Quiet Room is so good. I rewatched it this week because it's on Shudder, and I absolutely love it. It was one of those things where like I was writing notes down about it, and every single time I was watching it, I was like, oh, Lisa Wilcox is in this. Oh, Alaska Thunderfuck is in this. You know, it's like, how did you get this incredible cast for it? I guess even because it's a thesis film, how did you get this incredible cast?
Yeah, because nobody wants to be like, hey, will you be in my student film? The answer is never yes. What happened was I worked really hard on this story. I knew pretty early on in film school that I was going to write this story, but I knew that I wanted to do it well. So I used every exercise leading up to practice a different scare or a different theme. So I didn't make The Quiet Room again and again, but I knew that once I wanted to approach that material, I was going to do it right and with a plan. And so I made sure that as a filmmaker, I was ready. so it gave me some time to really work through the script and be realistic about what we could do. But also, I aimed high, and I sent the script and I took chances. I don't know. I didn't have any sort of I didn't have anybody there to guide me. So I just made a wish list. I wrote Hattie for Alaska, but I didn't in my wildest dreams think that it would actually happen.
I'm so glad it did, though, because
yes.
her voice is iconic.
Michael, do you know where you are?
Yes.
I just Mary Beth and I were chatting a little bit offline about how you incorporated, because I remember her giant nails, and that was kind of incorporated in the monster, and it's so well done.
I also didn't recognize her at first as Alaska. I did not realize that was Alaska. I was like, oh, hold on. That is someone I know.
Well, something I love about John Waters films is we always got Divine, a drag queen, playing whatever character that was.
Yeah.
And so when you have a drag queen playing a character, you have multiple layers to what that character is, because that's not just Hattie, that's Alaska playing Hattie.
Right.
And I think that you can hear it in her voice. We went back and recorded a lot of parts where Hattie's only visible in the sound design. She appears, but we don't see her. And when Alaska does something with her mouth, you hear even in that, it's Alaska.
Yes, it is. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that is fucking Alaska.
Yeah. We had a moment when we were recording some of that audio, and we were doing different voices, and Alaska even asked, do you want me to do Alaska? Yes, let's, and it's Hattie or Alaska as Hattie, and what a cool way to do that. And that's something that,
that is so cool.
As far as the how, I remember when I reached out to Lisa Wilcox, she had said, hey, I don't say yes to a lot of projects like this, but I really love the script. And to me, mental health is something that's really important. So when I did reach out to people about it, I was really upfront. This is what's important to me about this. I haven't seen anything like this. And this is what about that story is personal. And I was able to, get what I needed, which is great.
Yeah. And that actually leads me to want to ask you, why this story? What, you kind of already started talking about how mental health is important to you, but can you just talk a little bit more about inspiration for this story and why you wanted to write it the way you did?
Yeah. Like many queer people, I struggled with depression growing up. And when I was 18, I tried to kill myself. And I knew coming out the other side that I had to make some very big life changes, and I had to do them on my own. And one of those changes was, seeking the mental health care that I needed. I mean, really, really working on myself and getting to a place where I could be a stronger person, and I had a lot of experiences within that system, and getting to where I am now that, we have a long way to go to make sure that, both by breaking stigma, but also by having a system that supports people. And I wanted to make a film about that. So when I got to film school and everybody was making their life story, and I was like, well, how would Sam Wineman do it? Well, you make depression a monster, and that's it. I cast to me, truly The Quiet Room is autobiography. That's my story. Wow. But I just, it stars a drag queen.
Right. Wow.
So when I got that's why I had so much trouble, actually. I had, when I got accepted into a program that a lot of people, it's a competitive program. Mm-hmm. And I remember, about after the first year, somebody there brought me into his office, and he's like, what's your idea for thesis? And I told him, I described The Quiet Room, and he said, wow, I am really disappointed in you. And my heart just sunk. And he was like, when I brought you to the school, I thought you were going to tell real stories.
What?
And and I looked at him and I said, this is a real story. It's mine. Shit. And from that moment on, it might have been the best thing he could have done for me, because I doubled down on the way that I tell stories. Nobody could tell my story the way that I did. And so that's why it worked. Sometimes I would never advocate for, the people that oppress us, because I think that sometimes they use that like it's necessary to make good art thing. I don't think that's true, but I will tell you, a little rebellion never hurt any art.
Hell yeah, that's very true. The thing that it stuck out to me this time, especially with Lisa Wilcox in it, and I know she wasn't in this one, but it gave me vibes of like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, with like the kids stuck in a mental health place where like there's obviously someone supernatural stalking them and people not believing it. And then Lisa Wilcox is my favorite final girl. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Terry. Yes. She's wonderful.
She is so good in The Dream Master, and that is my favorite of the sequels. I so just identify with her character that entire movie. And so when she was on screen, I was just like, I was so enamored. I was so happy that she's back in this short film. I was so happy.
I love her in Elm Street. That movie, the fact that something that I always hear about, I don't know who said this to me first, but it's that we always talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 2 as being the queer one, but actually it's 4 because of her superpower, which is essentially she gains all of the powers of everybody else. She can change who she is. She takes on every gender to become a little bit of everybody. And I think that's such an interesting perspective, the transformation we watch her go through and the authenticity she ultimately reaches. I fucking love it. I'm such a Lisa Wilcox fan.
Yeah, I am too. And let me tell you, as a little questioning gay boy watching that movie, I was so quiet and I was so reserved, seeing her come out of her shell, owning her sexuality, owning her power, owning like her personality. It's such a queer story. Yeah, I just love her.
And also she's so incredibly talented.
Yeah.
I will be a Lisa Wilcox fan until the day I die.
Hell yeah, same. The other person I'm going to be a fan of, though, is I was surprised to see Katya, a.k.a. Brian McCook, add a drag in that. Because let me tell you, she is my favorite drag queen, and she's someone that I would love.
She's mine too.
I'd love to chat with. I love Katya so much.
I love Katya. We were beyond. I mean, I was obviously thrilled that worked out. Yeah. So having, at the time when we filmed The Quiet Room, I mean, we were barely a year out of All Stars 2. So,
Oh, yeah.
What's funny about being on set is, you never get starstruck because you're working with everybody and you just have too much to get done. But I did have a moment when I was sitting in backstage and it was like, oh, I'm here with Alaska and Katya right after All Stars 2 and I'm a huge fan, and I just didn't let myself indulge. But there is another part of me as just a queer dude who's a huge Drag Race fan that's like, fuck, will it ever get better than this? Have I peaked in 2017? Is this it for me? And it was, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Sam Wineman's downfall.
But going from the Quiet Room, so you are working currently editing, I believe, the Shudder queer horror documentary.
Yes, sir. We are in edits.
How's that going?
It's going great. It's been a really interesting process because everything else that I've ever worked on up until this point has just been, it's been exactly, I don't have anybody to weigh in on, but now I'm working with, a production company and Shudder, and there's a big team involved, and so, and my crew is all queer. I mean, almost everybody I work with, when you go to set with me, it's an all queer and all female crew, or not all female, but that's kind of your ticket. It's one or the other or both.
Yeah.
And it's just because those are the kind of sets I want to be on. And so why not make the set I want? So having to go from only working with queer people to then turning around and being like, hey, how do I make something that is for a mainstream, it's going through the process that everybody else does, that straight art goes through, and it's been I've learned a lot, and I think so has everybody else along the way. It's been a really cool learning experience, I guess.
Cool.
How did it all come together? How did you get involved? Because from an outsider perspective, it seems like it kind of started coming together after the horror noir was such a big hit. Is that true, or has this been percolating for a while?
You know, it came together a little bit before horror noir was out. I met Phil, one of our producers, on the set of Satanic Panic when I was there assisting Chelsea, and I got the pleasure of shooting second unit for her, and I got to know Phil and through the Fango team. So, you know, our relationship began then, and we had talked a little bit about queer horror, and one day he you know, introduced me to the other producer, and we got lunch, and they were like, "How much do you know about queer horror?" And I was like, "How much time do you have?" You know, and I gave him a breakdown, you know, and that's kind of where it started, where it was like, I think that there was already interest in that as a film. And I think then, you know, we met and we went from there.
That's wow. You know, it's funny because I knew that you were involved with Satanic Panic, and we talked with Chelsea, and she's such a wonderful human.
The best.
She really is.
Yeah.
She's the sweetest.
And it seems like that seems to be a common refrain whenever we talked to Andy, and when he found out that Sean did the music for our podcast, he's like, "Oh, Sean." So it's like they just seem like the most wonderful people.
I feel very fortunate to have Chelsea in my life, not just as a friend, but as a mentor. I think that, you know, a lot of times this industry is so competitive that it's like there are so many things that you can't learn in film school. And I get to learn those from friends like Chelsea who take the time to teach me, you know, and I think that goes a long way. And I try and do the same as far as paying it forward because of the example that she set for me. I like, she's my friend, and I also worship the ground she walks on. So
How can you not, though?
I know. And also, what a bad bitch. Like, being on set with her, Chelsea can handle any amount of stress and pressure and still be the same person that you talk to like when she's on set, she just has this, I don't know, this bullshit shield. She's so good. So I want all of the jobs for her. I want everything from here on out to be directed by Chelsea. Like, we need more.
I agree. So Terry, do you want to talk about what we've been watching recently?
Sure.
Was it my MySpace channel?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's briefly talk about.
I forgot about the MySpace channel.
I didn't. Wow. I fucking saw that tweet and called my therapist. Are you kidding me?
Well, I noticed when we went searching for it that the MySpace page is still there, but none of the music is working.
Well, now let me tell you about this though. That's not my fault. It wasn't like mysteriously disabled by me. It was actually MySpace had some sort of like, quote, like accidental dump of their servers, I think about a year or two ago. And what happened is all of the songs and videos are gone. And then all the views that are on it'll say like 28 views or something, even though it had like hundreds of thousands, you know, so it's like the whole thing is just erased. It is no more. But yeah, at the time I was, I guess I should have said that when you asked me about my past. I mean, I guess that's how I got into film. Here's the thing though. I just always have been doing these things that I love because like I said, you don't think I don't know. I just didn't dream as big as maybe I should have because I underestimated myself, which I think a lot of queer people do. Yes. You know?
Yeah. I was recently listening to, one of the podcasts that I really like is, Food for Thought. I think it's like four, queer dudes that, of different nationality, or not nationalities, but races coming together and talking about a subject. And they were talking about how, as queer people, that we sometimes will not dream as big as like a straight person would because we don't feel that we deserve it because of, you know, historical type stuff, pressures that build on us. And it was something that like, I think they said something about like, you know, approach everything like you're a straight white man. It's like, because it's true.
Wow.
To a degree.
Terry, I relate to that so much. You know, to share with you, I, by the way, literally never talk about this. So it's like when you tweeted that, I was like, oh, I am out of the closet. Okay. But I I guess that's the part, it's easier to talk about film school and a journey into film than saying like, when I think about it, really it started with making these MySpace videos. And it was because I was tired of the climate of the mid 2000s that was so fucking homophobic that queer people just couldn't exist in media. So in 2000s, like what I started doing, like it was 2005, I think I got started in 2006, but I like as a joke started, I can't play instruments and I can't sing. Like, listen, I mean, I played the saxophone in third grade. That doesn't count.
Oh my God, I played sax.
Did you? Oh wait, no, I knew that because I listened to your episode with Andy, my composer / music collaborator / friend. And you said saxophone and I like wanted to scream. Actually, I may have. And the only reason I played saxophone was because I wasn't allowed to play flute because my dad said that would make me gay, and we all know how that turned out. But yeah, so I had like a very limited musical background, so I would make these improv songs where I would sing about like people at work, guys that broke my heart, fucking celebrities who know, and it weirdly took off on quote MySpace radio, whatever that was at the time, which was like a precursor to everything. There wasn't really YouTube when that was happening. And so then they upgraded it to MySpace TV and it was a new thing. And so I had written a song for my best friend about leaving voicemails on each other, like back and forth. So the whole song is different voicemails I left her. And they selected it as their like featured thing. And back in the day, children, you would have to like log in every day to your account. And at your login screen, you would see 1 or 2 videos that were featured.
Yes,
and so before there was the viral video, you had that video. And so that way, every time it was featured, it would just get like, it would be this insane kind of like influx of people. And so 2 things happened. One of them is magical and one of them is less so. There was so much homophobia because I was out and people weren't used to seeing queer creators that they actually had to, I think I was the first person they ever had to disable the comments on manually because the comments were like, die faggot, all this stuff, whatever. But a second very magical thing happened, which was I started getting all these emails from like other queer youth from like all over the country and even older people, everybody. I mean, just people I'd never talked to. I didn't really even have queer friends then. I didn't know how to find people and all this. And I hadn't even thought like, oh, I'm making this like, I just thought I was singing some joke songs. I wasn't trying to like start a revolution or anything, although I wouldn't be opposed. But it was, it was like just to see ourselves in a public, unapologetic way, to see somebody singing about a song called Are You Gay? Trying to figure out if somebody's gay, like to sing about, I had a song called Dino Dick, which was just all Jurassic Park metaphors. And it was about, obviously Jurassic Park. So it's like, big dicks. It just was like, it was just an experience of being out in a way that was so public I could never undo it. And it forced me to be myself in a bigger, more real way than I think I ever would have otherwise. So I'm so grateful for it. But knowing, taking what I learned in that and applying it to what I'm doing now is honestly, truly probably what I'm doing with this documentary. Because it's like, hey, here's the visibility and I'm going to be myself. Because I can't speak for anybody but me and my perspective, but I can definitely like open the door and try and bring as many other people as I can. And that's what it feels like every day when I look at these edits. So fingers crossed it works out,
Hell yeah, that's so exciting.
I am really excited for it to come out eventually. I really can't wait.
Thanks for that tangent. Wow.
Of course.
Sorry about that. I just, I think I got soapboxy for a sec. It's just,
I was thinking about how you said that, you weren't allowed to play the flute. When I was a little kid and I was watching horror movies, my parents had the rule that I had to close my eyes whenever there were boobs on screen. And I'm like, well, all right.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So I got away with watching a lot of R-rated movies as long as I covered my eyes, and I had no problem doing that.
Yeah, don't have to ask me twice.
Right. Oh, geez. Wow. Wow. But yeah, so movies we've been watching recently, though. So one of the things that I've been watching, and it's not out yet, but I've been watching Love, Victor. Which is that? It is a Hulu show that's coming out June 19th. And it's kind of sort of a sequel inspired by Love, Simon and the novel Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda.
Is it good? I'm so excited about it.
I've only watched the first 3 episodes so far.
Gosh, Terry.
It's a lot different than than the movie. And in fact, one of the things that I really loved about it, because the main character, his name is Victor Salazar, and he is played by Michael Cimino, who was in Annabelle Comes Home. He was the cute boy that our lead had a crush on.
Yes, so did I. That's so great.
Me too. He's adorable. So he's in it. He's Victor, and the very first thing that he's doing is he is private messaging Simon, who is now living in New York, and he says, "Screw you for having the perfect family, the perfect friends, the perfect kiss, and the perfect situation. It's not that easy for the rest of us." So
T.
it is sort of like,
It immediately addresses that backlash.
yes, exactly. It addresses the backlash of the fact that the cast was, that the family was it was very white. I mean, other than, the one character is very white. It was very perfect. And this is a character that comes from, he just moved from Texas with his family. His dad is very like the kind of macho man that's like, he's a maintenance guy. Like it's a very different kind of perspective. And he just has moved to the same school, and he is trying to figure out his feelings because he really likes this guy that he sees, but then he also likes this girl. And so he's trying to figure out his sexuality at the same time as dealing with some of the stuff that happened in the movie. And one of my favorite things is that Miss Albright, the drama teacher, she's in it, and she's a vice principal now. And the guy, Nick Robinson, that played Simon, he does the voiceover as Victor is communicating back and forth with him.
Okay, so there is connection.
Yes, it is definitely connected. Same actors that were in that are kind of crossing over to this. I have a feeling that we might see Nick Robinson at some point, but it is definitely from a different perspective. And I think it's going to be really good. I've only seen the first 3 episodes, but it's all dropping on the 19th of June. So
Wow.
I really recommend it.
Cannot wait for that.
Yeah, me too. And then I'm also trying to get through my backlog of movies that I'm a collector and I buy. So I watched Pale Blood.
Oh, yes. How was it?
Kind of
Good.
boring.
Awesome. Good. That's a really inspiring confidence.
So that movie, it's about a vampire. Like, here's the synopsis. A vampire arrives in Los Angeles to investigate a recent series of murders which bear the hallmarks of vampire attacks. He wants to track down the murderer because he is a vampire that doesn't believe in killing people. He just believes in taking as much blood as he needs to survive and letting them live, and someone is killing people as a vampire would. And meanwhile, there's this erotic film director / photographer that's capturing the crime scenes, and they sort of like cross paths. Wings Hauser plays the erotic film director, which is weird because it's the second movie in 2 weeks that I've seen Wing Hauser in.
Yeah, that's weird.
He looks just like Elric Kane.
Amazing.
From Shockwaves. It billed itself as an erotic vampire thriller, and there was
sold.
nothing erotic about it.
Well, that's lame.
Yeah.
Except that at one point, the vampire, who's played by George Chakiris, he was in West Side Story.
I don't know.
Chakiris, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He bites them on their breast. That's about as erotic as it gets. But it was a movie I definitely watched.
There's something so queer about the vampire who hates being a vampire or hates like other vampires.
It's my favorite
Yes.
fucking movie of all time, and that's why I'm bisexual. But yeah, I love vampires, and I love moody vampires who are really sad. That's why I really like Daybreakers.
Are you a Dracula's Daughter fan?
I actually haven't seen Dracula's Daughter.
Girl, you were gonna love it.
Yes, I have heard very good things about it, so I really, yeah.
I just need like a 30-minute edit of it though, so we can skip all the police stuff. I don't need the dudes. Just give me Dracula's Daughter serving looks. That's all.
Hell yeah. But that's me. What about you, Mary Beth?
So I've been watching a lot, but the things I wanted to really talk about was I watched Scanners for the first time, and absolutely obsessed with it. I don't know why I have become so enamored with this movie, but it was so good. I am so sad. And like, I hadn't really thought about it. Like, I love Cronenberg, but I guess I didn't really like connect Scanners and Cronenberg at first. It is very different than his usual stuff, but Michael Ironside is amazing in it. And the the set design is absolutely gorgeous. It's just like sci-fi, but not really sci-fi. I don't know. It's just like absolutely beautiful. I'm obsessed with it now. And then I actually am playing Outlast on my Nintendo Switch.
Are there as many head explosions in that as scanners?
I guess, no, I don't think there's head explosions. There's a lot of guts though.
Okay.
So I'm playing that for the first time, and
you've never played it before?
I've watched a lot of playthroughs online,
Okay.
but I've never played it before. But like for this personal project we're doing about found footage that involves video games, I was like, I should play the game actually to like understand it. And it's scary as shit.
It is scary as shit.
This is, I heard in your Andy episode, you talked about found footage, and this is, or I think it like came up for a second.
It comes up all the time.
Do you love, because I love found footage. And when I heard that, I was like, please tangent on this forever. So that's...
Yeah, Outlast is basically like a found footage video game. It's really interesting. So are you familiar with it at all, Sam?
No.
Okay. So you're playing as a journalist who is going to investigate allegations of really bad shit happening at a mental institution. And it's like really, it's awful. And you go in and you're armed with, you don't have any weapons. So you're armed with just like your video camera, your the night vision camera, batteries, and you have to just run from everything. So you're basically like, you literally have a mechanic where you lift up the camera to film. And if you film something, it adds to your logs. Like you have to make the movie. So like you're finding footage as you're playing. And like you view a lot of the world through the screen of the camera, not just through like the actual screen of the TV or for the Switch. You actually like have the actual act of putting up the camera and seeing everything through the lens of the camera, especially in night vision. So it's really fucking cool.
So you have no resources and you have to make a movie. That sounds just like all of my experiences in LA.
Yeah.
Are there crazy naked men though? Because that's the other thing.
And this one's like also so gruesome. There's so many dead people and like horrific creatures, and it's so scary. And it's really good. It's really, really good. So it's kind of cool to play that because I've been watching so much found footage. So it's kind of cool to get to play and change how I'm like interacting with the space like that. And then, okay, I'll talk about found footage now because I did watch another good one. It's called Butterfly Kisses.
I saw you tweeting about this one.
Yes. So it takes place in Maryland where I live, so it's really weird. And it's like where my friends live, like in a town that I'm familiar with. So that like made it even weirder because I was like, that is 20 minutes from my apartment and like I go there all the time. So that was weird. But it's basically like a movie within a movie. So a guy finds footage, and he's a filmmaker. And he's trying to make a movie about this movie where a film student is making a documentary about the Peeping Tom or Mr. Blink, which is a Maryland urban legend where if you stare down this tunnel for an hour without blinking, he appears to you. And every time you blink, he gets closer and closer. And this is the fucked up part. This is a fucked up part. When he gets close enough to you and you try not to blink, his eyelashes are so long that it tickles your face and tries to make you blink. And that's why it's called Butterfly Kisses. Isn't that fucked up?
That's so great.
I was watching it and I was like, I can't. This is awful. That is the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But it's actually really creepy and really effective. And it's like one of those meta found footage movies that is like kind of funny and like it seems a little bit like cliche, but it's actually done really, really well. And some of the effects in it are amazing. So it's on Amazon Prime. Watch that.
That sounds fucking awesome.
It was fucking awesome. It was really good. And it's like kind of like I like cryptids and urban legends too. So it was like very much like all up in my wheelhouse of things I like to watch.
Same. What's your favorite like cryptid?
Mothman. Mothman or the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Ooh. I was always like old school, like Loch Ness Monster.
I love Loch Ness
obviously, I would read
Monster.
anything about anything, and I believe it all. That's the answer. End of story.
End of story. Exactly. Thank you.
I did visit Loch Ness once because apparently you can go really cheap if you go like the last day before they close down for the winter. And
wow.
And every day, like, because it gets dark at like 1 p.m. or something. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but it felt like it. I was in college, and so and every day I would like ride this bus like the length of the loch just to get to like town. And so finally, I just like asked the bus driver, "Hey, like, is the Loch Ness, like, have you ever seen it?" Because he's been working there like 37 years, he said, and he looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, man, that's not real." He's like, "I would have seen it by now." I tried that, and it's like, "Oh wow, I'm a tourist, aren't you?" Okay.
Squash those dreams real quick.
My heart broke.
Have you ever seen a Fresno Nightcrawler, though?
Seen one?
No, like, heard of what's...
Oh,
sorry.
No. I was like, wow. I mean, if we're going to go there. No, actually, that's something that's not on my radar. What is Fresno Nightcrawler?
It's so dumb, but they're amazing. It looks like a sentient pair of white pants, like, walking
I just almost spit my water.
I know. It is the funniest thing. Hold on. Let me send you.
Wait, is it actually in Fresno?
Yes, like they see that they've been spotted a couple times there, and I don't know what they actually are, but like it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life because it's just like it looks like a pair of pants walking down the road.
That's incredible.
Like it's incredible.
Wow.
What? And the title is "Walking Pants Bring Fresno Freaky Frame."
It is not loading because the suspense is going to kill me. That's why. Wait, these children's illustrations of the pants?
Scroll all the way down to the big blue picture of the really blurry pair of pants.
What the?
Is that not the funniest shit you've ever seen?
This is the best.
So stupid, and I'm obsessed with it.
Wow.
Like, people take it really seriously, but I think it's just like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I love it with all of my heart.
This is incredible.
It is incredible.
Well, it's also wild that it is like exactly how you described it. For anybody not able to see it, my God.
It's literally just a pair of pants. I sent a picture of it too.
Well, it's cute because like I like the ones where it like has a cute little face. It's like a pair of pants and a couple of eyes.
It's like not even that scary. You're kind of just like, what?
I mean, I want to give it a hug, but it has no hands.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
It's very cute. Anyway. Sam, what have you been watching?
So for movie nights that I've been doing, I've been doing a kind of a deep, like I've been really into 2000s horror lately because it's like the culture of homophobia at that time. It just like permeated every aspect of horror. But I'm also, a person who was coming into my own at that time. So it's like, it feels really like it's weird to say that that's my generation of horror. Like that's the time it spoke to me, but also it was so unfriendly or hostile, if you will, to my identity.
Yeah.
So I went back and revisited a movie I hadn't seen in years. May. Have you guys seen that?
No,
Lucky
I haven't,
McKee's
but
movie.
I really want to see it.
When it first came out, I just don't think I was as far along in my identity that I was able to understand it. And lately I've been, I was just working on the doc and bi erasure is something that I feel really strongly about. And then I went and watched May and I was like, wow, this is about bisexuality and to the point where it at first feels like in the 2000s when we presented anytime that there was going to be like any sort of queerness to a character, it was either it had to be like titillating for the male viewer or it had to be like a joke or, it's just played for laughs. And you see Anna Faris as her female love interest and it's like, oh shit, yeah, this is going to be a joke. And then it's handled so well. I was just, it really impressed me. I can't believe we don't talk about May more. There's a lot to unpack with it and it's not like it's not to say that it's a perfect representation of queer identity, but my God, for 2002, I mean, I don't even think we were ready yet. And in some ways, I don't think we even address bisexuality in films in this way or queer identity in this way.
Yeah.
I forgot that Anna Faris was in that.
Me too.
I have not seen that movie in forever. I should go revisit it.
Yeah.
Have you seen Lucky McKee's new movie? Oh, I can't think of what it's named.
Not Kindred Spirits.
Yeah, Kindred Spirits.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Look at
I
me.
haven't seen it.
I saw it at Cinepocalypse.
It is like a Lifetime movie.
Okay, so sold.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like a cheesy Lifetime movie, but like amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, you had me at Lifetime. I mean,
Thora Birch is in it.
What?
Thora Birch is in it, and I was very happy about that.
And I don't know if you've ever seen Please Like Me, the Australian comedy show.
I haven't.
It's so good. You got to see it. It's very queer, but one of the actresses that was in that, she's in it too. And it's sort of like Single White Female, but like...
My God, you are giving me all my buzzwords right now, Terry. I just, yeah.
You should watch it. It's pretty good.
Wow. I'm so fucking in. That's great.
Sorry, but what else have you been seeing?
Well, so I've been on this, like, I just recently rewatched Hostel.
Oh boy, how was that?
It's worse than I remembered. And and God, I shouldn't even say that. But I'm going to, here's the thing. At the time when I saw it, when the predominant culture is homophobic, it's really easy to laugh with a joke that is punching down at you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we are currently having conversations in the horror community as to what those limits are, because now that we are all connected with media, social media, we are able to speak up and join together and say, hey, this isn't okay. And I think in some ways that can feel like we're piling on, but in other ways, we're actually just finally having the power to show our numbers instead of being some one-off person in Orange County watching Hostel in a theater. It doesn't matter when everybody laughs at the homophobic joke. But now that we have a voice because we're together, shit's starting to change.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, the short of it is, wow, my God, that movie is beyond homophobic. And then it tricks you into thinking it's not. And then it turns out it like does it double. And it's like, I don't know if you remember it, but it's like...
I don't remember any of that, but I also, a long time ago, and all I could think about was the gore, and I was also, like, a very privileged young white girl who, like, probably didn't read into any of that, so that's probably a big part of it, too.
The thing about Hostel is... all of it is, it like, as you're going through it, the characters are kind of just like throwing out fag this and fag that, and it's kind of like a general fun homophobia. But there's one, like, and by fun, I mean by a 2005 perspective, but there's one character who he's like, they keep giving him a hard time. He has a fanny pack, so obviously he's the queer one. And this guy on the train puts his hand on his leg, and he gets really homophobic. He's like, "Ah, man, don't touch me." And then later he sees the guy and apologizes and buys him a drink, and then like puts his hand on that guy's knee, and he's like, "I'm sorry." And the man looks at his hand on his knee, and they have a moment because it's like this acknowledgement, like, we are the same. And then the man says, when I was your age, I would have done the same thing, but I made a choice to be with a woman and have a family, and that was the right choice for me, but you need to make the right choice for you. And this other woman comes along and takes him back out on the dance floor. So that's in this movie that is like insanely homophobic. And then they have this moment where it's like, I see you and you see me. Well, later, that guy is his fucking murderer.
That's right. Okay.
It's just like, oh, wow, you tricked me into thinking this was going to be like a safe identity moment. And it's like, nope, all queer people are fucking monsters. And this is the future you have to look forward to. And to the point where, and here's the cherry on it, he literally holds the guy's face up. The boy, he holds his face up and slits his throat in front of a mirror because they're like to make him watch the monster that he's avoiding, like almost like, and it's just like,
ooh, don't like that at all.
Yeah. So anyways, sorry to really tangent on it, but it's just, it's, so I recently watched May and Hostel. Different sides of the coin.
Yeah. I would definitely say so. I haven't seen Hostel since, probably the theater. So I just remember, but you describing it just kind of brought back vivid memories, like me being a closeted gay guy watching that movie, and it was an experience.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about what we've been watching recently, but Sam, what are we talking about today? What movie have you brought with you?
I have brought Child's Play.
Everyone has a birthday they'll always remember.
Can we open my presents now, Mommy? A good guy! I knew it! I'm Chucky.
He's something, isn't he?
This is Andy's.
Time for bed, Andy. Good night, baby.
Good night, Aunt Maggie. Good night, Chucky.
Everyone knows most accidents happen at home.
How did that happen?
This is no accident.
Andy!
I'm Detective Mike Norris, homicide.
Andy!
Miss Peterson's dead, Miss Barkley. She fell from the kitchen window.
Someone's moved in with the Barkley family. And so has terror.
Mommy, I know who was on the counter. Andy!
Who, Andy?
Chucky. Chucky.
Nobody believes you about Chucky. He came alive in my hand.
Oh, for God's sake.
Why won't you believe me?
Because I'm sane, Mrs. Barkley. Sane and rational.
No one believes the truth. Or lives to tell it. There's nothing nice about murder. And there's nothing innocent about child's play.
Child's Play. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar or just need a little bit of a refresher, Child's Play is about a hardworking single mother, Karen, and she gives her son, Andy, a much sought-after doll for his birthday, only to discover that the doll is possessed by the soul of a serial killer who wants to be Andy's friend till the end.
Heidi-ho.
Oh, I hate it. So
Sam, how old were you when you saw this movie?
Friends, I think I saw the third one first.
Okay.
And the third one's it's not scary like the first one is.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't know how old I was when I tried to watch it. I do know the first time I successfully watched it was in 5th grade. So I had made it to through a sleepover. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was there. The first time I had tried to, I think I was very young. I mean, I'm talking 5 or 6, and I saw part of it and it terrified me. I think I just even saw the commercial. And the reason why is because I had a My Buddy doll.
I was going to ask, did you have a My Buddy doll?
I did. And
oh, no.
And My Buddy is Chucky. My Buddy is a good guy doll. And also, it was in the 80s, everything that this movie is satirizing was I was fucking Andy. I was that kid.
Yep.
And so it was a horror movie made about me. And so, I had mentioned to you before that I had somebody talk me through every part of the movie, and it was because it terrified me, but I was fascinated by it. I also love storytelling, so I would have this same older neighbor friend tell me Chucky all the time, and he'd take me through the beats oh, tell me Chucky again, because I wasn't allowed to watch it, but it haunted my dreams. And I used to think, so wait, Terry, did you have a My Buddy?
I did, yes.
Did you ever think that your My Buddy moved or did something that it didn't?
I never thought that about My Buddy, but I did think that about Teddy Ruxpin.
Me too! Teddy fucking Ruxpin! What a weirdo, because sometimes he did, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right, because his mouth... Okay, hold on. Are we all familiar with Teddy Ruxpin? Or is this let me breaking down 80s toys really quick? My Buddy did not have a mouth that moved.
No.
Not obviously we see Chucky, and Chucky is actually a My Buddy combined with Teddy Ruxpin.
Yes.
So, and Teddy Ruxpin you would put a cassette tape into his back, and he would read you stories by moving his mouth.
There are lots of teddy bears, but only one Teddy Ruxpin.
Hi, my name is Teddy Ruxpin. Can you and I be friends?
Sure, Teddy.
Your friend is what I'd like to be.
He's alive.
And he had a whole play world, and you could buy these other things, and it was much like the commercialism of this. And so I had those two things were that was my childhood. So yeah, Child's Play made us all afraid of our toys.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
And when his batteries ran low, Teddy Ruxpin would talk to you in a crazy, scary voice.
That happened to me with some of my toys when I was a kid, and it was the fucking worst.
What were yours?
Tickle Me Elmo.
What a terrifying low scream that would be.
Oh, I can't even replicate it because it was awful. And then we had a Kermit the Frog doll that would go, "Hi-oh, Kermit the Frog here," but it would be "Hi-oh, Kermit the Frog," and I was hell on earth, hell on earth, possession. Yeah. And it would go off in the middle of the night, and I was nope, this house is not clean.
Get Zelda.
Get Zelda. This house is not clean.
So you saw this. You saw it in the 5th grade. Finally, is that? And was it at a slumber party type thing?
Yeah, because that was when I was allowed to rent whatever the fuck I wanted. Because it was okay, all rules are off. It's a slumber party. I can get rated R movies, and I did at that point. I was able to to conquer my fear. But what you have to understand about Chucky scarring me. While most people saw the movie and then couldn't sleep, I could not see it. So that's what, like, Chucky was a big part of my childhood.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And I never, but I was not able to, like, it was always told secondhand because I couldn't see it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that is so fucking cool, though. Like, that is so fascinating.
So I was obsessed with Chucky, but it was always that thing that was like, you know, the boogeyman.
I used to do that with movies sometimes, too. Like, I would get obsessed with them and, like, research them and have people tell me about them, but then I would be too scared to see them. And now I'm the person that goes sees the scary shit now. But
if I was to pinpoint the moment that really, like, fucked me up, I was in a video store and I turned over the back of what I believe was Child's Play. Yeah, it was Child's Play 1. And he has a really fucked up face that he's making when he's attacking Andy. And that face on the back of that VHS box haunted my fucking dreams. I'm telling you, it was like I couldn't even look at the box. But then sometimes I would, like, make myself go back to the video store and, like, look at the box. Like, I was drawn to it, but, like, terrified by it.
Okay, I have a small tangent really quick.
Please.
We don't appreciate video box art as much as we used to, and I'm very sad about it because, like, we have so many people have said how much video box art, like, intrigued them and scared them. Like, obviously people care about it.
Yes.
I just wish we got better. Like, I don't know. I just miss going to the video store and seeing all the cool covers and, like, looking at all of the art on the covers. Like, I miss that physical thing, which is, I guess, why I still buy so much physical media, because I just like being able to have it. But damn, I just really do miss being able to walk around and, like, see the front-facing crazy horror movie covers.
Yes.
And they're so beautiful. And, like, they did such a good job. Even if the movie wasn't good, they made it look good.
Well, the fact that I said what I just explained with his face looking all fucked up and you said yes in the way, like, you immediately knew what I'm talking about, it's because that is how we chose, like, right? Like, it's like we chose our media based on what was in that box. And once you took it home, you were committed, girl. Like, you watch it. Because, and it's not like our Netflix age where we can give up on something 20 minutes in or text our friend while it's happening. It's like you brought it home and it was an event.
It was.
It was always an event.
And I think that we've lost a little bit of that chance that we give to films.
Yeah.
And the enjoyment of something. I think it's really challenging in 2020 to enjoy something that isn't perfect because we have so many other options. But I love trash for exactly that reason. You know, because it's like I can enjoy something that's not perfect. Sorry, Terry, you were going to say.
No, I was going to agree with you because we've talked about this before on the show, but that's one of the only few things. I don't usually have nostalgia for things, but I do have nostalgia for what you're talking about. Because I remember in high school loading up with movies, and it's why I saw, like, Jack Frost, this really terrible, 90s horror movie. Mm-hmm. It's like you rent it, you bring it home, you are watching that sucker. You don't have 50 million other things that you can just go, I'm going to watch this 10 minutes. Oh, it doesn't grab me. I'm going to go watch something else. You sat there, you watched it. It became your weekend event.
Yes. Because how else would you choose a movie where a snowman rapes somebody with a carrot nose? I mean, that wouldn't happen. But anyways, Jack Frost, man.
I know. And, watching.
That's its own episode.
It's so weird that you bring that up because I just remember I have this vivid memory of saying, where is his nose when he's in the shower and then realizing what was happening and like, oh good God, Lord, what am I watching? What am I watching?
Yeah. What? Yeah. And the thing is, I would sometimes even get the VHS boxes confused. Like, here's the thing that we don't have anymore. When it's better on the box than it is in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of times it's like the box was so delicious and perfectly laid out and the poster art like got you in. And then you take it home and you put it in and you're like, what the fuck am I watching? That's not this movie.
Deep Star 6.
And what's that?
Deep Star 6.
I haven't seen that.
It was a movie that haunted me as a kid, like the cover art, because it was this man. It was like a man in like one of those old timey diving suits and he was torn in half and he's just like floating there.
Wow.
And the movie's terrible, but that box art, like, I was like, what is this movie? And I was never allowed to watch it, but it was one of those things where you see that and you build up such an expectation of what that movie is going to be.
I did that to Dreamcatcher.
Oh my God. Dreamcatcher, the poop movie?
So I saw I know, this is amazing. This conversation brought that memory like rushing back to the front of my brain. I'm like, I feel like I have been sent back in time to this very weird period in my life where like I watched the Dreamcatcher trailer over and over again, but wouldn't see the movie. And then I read the book and I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And I've never actually seen the movie because I read the book and was like, I don't need to see it. I'm good. Like,
so that's where you're wrong. Listen.
Should I see it though? The cast is stacked. It's weirdly stacked.
I'm not going to say it's a good movie because then I'd be lying to you. But what I will tell you is that it is insane.
It is insane.
So it's
Okay.
like it's as if because it's like I read the book too. And whoa. So it's like it's like they had the task of like taking all these different pieces that don't belong in a film and including enough of them to make it still work as a movie. And watching them do that delicate dance on screen is so fun, especially when they take very seriously the fart aliens.
The fart aliens, and I couldn't get past it. I was reading it and I was like, this just feels like a joke now. Like he's just farting and pooping.
So imagine like a stacked cast of actors taking
super
farts
seriously.
so seriously.
I cannot
seriously.
wait. I'm gonna have to watch it this weekend.
Highly recommend.
Now. Just the recommendation of very
10 farts out of
talented
10.
actors watching being in a very serious movie about farts sounds very exciting. Cool.
Speaking of farts,
and speaking of movies that don't live up to what's on the box, Chucky is not one of them. Chucky, I think what's interesting for me as an adult watching it is I think it's actually only gotten better with age. When I was a kid, I felt like I related to Andy, but now as an adult, man, when Karen's making that backdoor deal for the doll, because she's like just a single mom who can't afford the thing, but she wants to like take care of her son who she loves so much. It's like, I feel for her so much in this film.
Yes. So this is actually my first time seeing Child's Play. Mm-hmm. And so I was watching it and I actually got really sad at the beginning. Like I was very, very upset because I think we felt so bad for her and her son. And I had this went on this little tirade to my partner. I was like, why is it that always the poor people have to be the ones affected by this shit? It's not fair.
Yeah.
I was like, you're going to take away his toy and his doll and take away her hard work. And I got really upset about that, which is very silly, but I was upset about that. And then all of a sudden it flips a switch and I'm like, this is a totally different movie. Like the doll starts screaming, fuck. And it's very strange, the tonal change between the first and second half.
It is a complete switch flip.
It's so
flip
weird.
Switch? No. Anyways. It's insane because it's like, but I think what's so effective about it is that we care so much about her and him.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work.
You know what? Seeing this as an adult was, I had the same experience. One of the notes that I took while I was rewatching this was her line of
well, what do you think?
I want a good guy to go with it.
I know you do, Andy, but I didn't know about it in time this month to save up for it.
I didn't know about it in time to save up for it. The economy of storytelling in the beginning of this movie, I forgot how much this movie just books. The first 6 minutes, you have the end of another movie. It almost feels the kind of climactic moment of the police finally catching this slasher or this police procedural. And then that's the first 6 minutes. And then the next 6 minutes, the doll is moving around the apartment about stalking Maggie. And then after that, she's going out the window. It just books. But the economy of storytelling with this, where all you need to know, she obviously is a single mom. You find out later that she's widowed, and she is working really hard to try to make ends meet. And that line about, I didn't know about it in time to save up for it, just was heart wrenching this time.
It's so real. And I think that 2 years ago, I went to Midsummer Scream, and director Tom Holland did a live, what do you call it when you talk over the movie, basically? A live commentary. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had because I went in expecting all of this depth about family and in the 80s and commercialism. And he would just watch it and go, this is the part where the babysitter dies. Chucky's about to walk through the flower. It was I was floored. My best friend and I were watching it, just cracking up. I wish I could watch him do this movie again, because to take this really, to me, this it's all of the emotion and it's so real and it's so scary, and just I wonder if he saw what we saw when he read that script.
Right.
But I think that speaks to Don Mancini and his and his talent. I mean, he's openly queer, and Don, this is 1988, and Don had he had moved to New York in the mid 80s and then moved to LA after that to pursue film. And New York and LA in the 80s, queer people were dying at rates that are unfathomable for us to even talk about, when you think about all of the friends you would lose. And when I imagine what that would do to somebody who's about to write a movie about fighting for the family that you do have, I can't help but think about the world that this movie emerged in and how that may have kind of leaked its way in.
Wow. Yeah. I had, it's so weird looking back on it now because I never really think about that. I mean, because I was a little kid in the 80s, and it's amazing to me when you start to look back at a film and you can kind of see how history or personal history starts to like seep into the things that they work on.
Well, I think about it, I imagine Don probably wasn't really thinking about it either. Right. I think it's just, but when you look at his body of work, the theme of family comes up in every film.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And especially when you get to Bride and Seed.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and I think that as a queer person, the notion of family is something that, there's a lot to unpack there. And especially for me, I mean, my friends, my closest friends are my family. We have, as queer people, we have chosen family.
Yep.
And so family is, and what family is and defining that and choosing that is a big part of our lives. So I think it's really cool to see that queer theme starting like right here in the first film. Even if the film isn't overtly queer in the way that like Bride or Seed is,
right? The
seeds are there.
Now, I will say, I think Maggie is queer as fuck.
Hey, hold on, you! How do we know the damn thing isn't stolen, huh?
Steal this!
Yeah, steal this yourself. Maggie, I think I dated him. Come on, we gotta get back to work.
When I was watching it this time, I was like, I want to be that bitch.
Yes.
I'm so sad that
I want her to kiss my face.
she was so cool.
Also, she went right up to that fucking plant looking for Chucky. She's like, yeah, like what a bad bitch, just going right for it, isn't waiting. And of course, like her death is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because the film never actually like fills that hole, that loss of Maggie.
I know.
But like she died being the person that she is.
She did.
She wasn't going to sit there and take it. She was like, I'm going right for it. I'm going to find it. What the fuck is going on here?
Also, I have to say that I did not realize that the guy who plays Chucky, Brad Dourif, is in fucking Lord of the Rings and Dune.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Like, I don't know why. Child's Play was like always just a movie I heard about as a kid and like steered clear from because I had no fucking desire. Like, it was one of those movies you heard about and knew about but never wanted to see, sort of like you, Sam. And so I knew nothing about this. And then I just discovered that the guy who plays Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings and then one of the Harkonnens, like human computers in Dune, is the voice of Chucky? What the fuck?
So I actually thought that I got Brad Dourif and Stephen Dorff confused. And so there was like a period of my life that is like embarrassingly long that I thought that that the voice of Chucky starred in Britney Spears' Everytime video.
Oh my God.
And, and look, I want to live in that world.
God.
Yeah.
Honestly, Stephen Dorff as Chucky. Yeah, right.
Y'all remember when in Bride of Chucky, or no, Seed of Chucky, when he like kills Britney Spears?
Oops, I did it again.
Yes.
I have not seen any of the other Chucky.
Oh, okay.
Like,
you haven't seen any of them?
Well, it's...
No, I don't see... Okay, this is the fucked up thing about this podcast. I am like... I'm younger than Terry. I'm
okay, brag
young.
about it, but...
Right?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Damn it.
We're all young here.
But it's just like, I was a shitty little teenager and didn't really care about like the history of horror. I just wanted to watch all the weird stuff that was coming out like in the 2000s. And so I'm like woefully behind like on things. I have blind spots because I didn't really like grow up with them, but I knew I should watch them, but I was a shit. So I'm playing catch up, especially this podcast has made me play a lot of catch up, which I'm very happy for.
It's also one of those things where with a character as iconic as Chucky, we just imagine we have seen it. So sometimes it's not your first pick because it's like, he is in everybody's mouth. Like we know Chucky and Leatherface and, Freddy Krueger. It's like he is up there. So it's just like, I can see also how it would be easy to miss it.
Exactly, because you feel like you already know about it because everyone talks about it and it's like such a ubiquitous image. It's like, oh yeah, I don't need to see it because I already know what happens. But I'm so glad I did watch it because I did not realize it was going to be so upsetting to me.
Something
at
that's
least.
special about this franchise in general is that it is the queerest franchise that there is. I mean, it gets progressively more queer throughout the series until it becomes explicit. And that is one of the most delightful parts about it, is that Don was able to express that. And also that straight audiences continued to consume it. I mean, until they didn't. And so it's it's one of those things where I felt, where as an adult, it's gotten even better for me because now I see all that shit. And when I was a kid, I didn't see it as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the same way, because like I remember I saw Bride of Chucky in the theater, and I didn't really like it as that kind of petulant. When did that come out? Was it early 2000s?
It was 2000, just I think on the dot, right?
Yeah, so I was like 19.
Oh no, it was 1998.
It was 1998?
Yeah. Sorry.
Jesus. So I was 17 at the time when it came out, and I was a petulant kid, and I was like, what is this shit? Because it wasn't scary, right? It started to move more into like the kind of campy comedy aspect of it. And looking back on it now, I love those movies that he just goes for with Bride and Seed. But at the time, I was a different kid.
You know, he infuses a queer sensibility into everything he does. And I think that's what makes Bride so queer. But I know this is not a Bride of Chucky podcast today, so I will rein it back in. But definitely watch as those queer characters emerge over time and how they are allowed to appear. And I think that that each one reflects the time that it is released, you know, a little bit, or at least, or sometimes the reaction to it reflects the time. So
yeah.
One of the things that jumped out at me this time, rewatching Child's Play, though, was I forgot how much of the movie people think that Andy is the killer.
Yeah.
That was what really got to me, I think. Like, I'm not a kids person, but for some reason this movie made me very sad for Andy, and I was like, this is not a way to treat a child.
Well, he's so good at him too, Alex Vincent. He is one of the best child actors I've seen in a horror movie of that time period. Just you want to like hug him and love him and tell him that everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
Yes.
He just deserves it. Like, help this kid, you know? And it's hard. Did you guys see the remake, perchance?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
I did.
What were your thoughts?
It was fine.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, there were things I liked about it. I just have such an affinity to Don's work that it kind of, I went into it with a chip on my shoulder. I loved Aubrey Plaza in it. I thought she was great.
Oh, she's awesome. And I love Teddy Ruxpin making an appearance. But I think it's a really good example of why we should give queer people queer material.
Yes.
So, and the reason being is that there are these themes in Don's films, right? Like, even when he doesn't direct it, even when he's just the writer and we're watching Child's Play, there are these themes that are so deeply woven in and such a part of the characters that we see, like Maggie, or the relationship between Andy and other people, what it's like to carry a secret, and all these things that are so relatable that when you turn around and something like Child's Play leaves queer hands. Now, I'm not saying straight people are not capable of understanding those things, but what I'm saying is there is something that's lost in the language. There is it ends up feeling a little bit like a Xerox because the points were kind of missed. What made it so special is that it was able to tap into those universal themes that are unfortunately very common for queer people. And once it made that translation, I didn't think it had the heart that this movie did.
Yes, and I especially believe that rewatching this time, because what really grabbed me as an adult watching this was the heart, and in particular the one scene where after Chucky has killed Eddie Caputo and Andy's in the police station with his mom.
Nobody believes you about Chucky unless you start telling the truth. Right now, they're going to take you away from me.
So she's basically telling him that he needs to lie about himself and lie about the truth so that he is not taken away by the police. And that was just so, it really broke my heart watching it this time, because he's like, and the way he turns on Chucky, and he's like,
you hear that, Chucky? They're taking me away unless you say something. Please say something. Come on, Chucky, say something. Tell me why you lied to me about everything. Tell me. Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi-ho. Ha ha ha. Mommy, he's doing it on purpose. He told me never to tell about him or he'd kill me.
Say something. You lied to me. Why'd you lie to me about everything? Tell me. And it's just, that just really like hit me this time.
Yeah. Wow, I'm so glad I brought this drama to discuss today. We are having the most chilling conversation about Child's Play because it's so real, though. You know?
It really is.
I do want to say that it is, to this day, the scares hold up in a way that I think a lot of movies kind of don't age well. For me, I was still jumping at them. Every time I see this, I think the scares are so expertly crafted because of the buildup.
Yes, and I love the final reveal. That whole sequence of when she finally realizes the batteries fall out, and she's holding him, and his head turns around.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
That moment, like I jumped at that this time.
Yeah, it's still, I know it's coming, and it still gets me.
And then the moment that Mary Beth was talking about, where like he starts like cussing and he just goes for it.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
Calls her, a dirty slut and a bitch, and like he's throwing F-bombs. Like he just, it's like, it is like a switch is turned.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for laughing because, like, the whole time I was like, this is, like, weighing so heavy on my heart with this single mom and her kid. And then all of a sudden, Chucky goes,
Ugly doll. Fuck you.
Fuck you. And I was like, what is going on? It completely took me out of that.
And it's interesting because you see, like, Chucky embody patriarchy, and it's like, he is just all of the worst things about toxic masculinity. And that gets worse over the series. But even in Child's Play, it's like very evident that he is just this menacing force on Karen and her son. And being a child of the 80s, Reagan era living, I mean, I think it definitely made an impression then. And I think it's still the points that it's making they hold up. But can I tell you my favorite thing, which I know this isn't like scary or serious. This is like, I fucking love Black Friday. So as like a trash person, obviously there's like nothing better than waiting in line for 4 hours for something. And so watching something at a good deal, it's like, okay, I'm going to get this thing for $5. And so like Karen and I, we see each other. Like I watch this movie and I'm like, Karen, I get you. Like I understand your life. You're going to make this work. And also you got a good deal. With something like Chucky, what I think a lot of people don't know, or especially younger people, is that Cabbage Patch Kids and My Buddy dolls, they were toys that people fought each other in aisles for.
Cabbage Patch dolls. The latest awful example of pre-Christmas selling hype to hit America. And it verges on the hysterical, especially when supplies run out.
What do we tell our little girl Christmas morning? What are we supposed to say? You've been good, but Santa ran short?
Those who can't get their own have been known to snatch from others.
Where is he? Do you see her? Is that what Christmas is about?
That's all right.
A full-grown woman taking a doll out of a child's hand? I got my doll. I got my doll.
So it was there was the kind of like buzz. You couldn't get it online. You had to like camp out and harass stores and like be there when shipments showed up, and people were fucking insane for this stuff. And so this movie is so magical because it captures an era that, like, something that doesn't really exist anymore. And I truly actually think we just witnessed our last real Black Friday because it was already dying, but now we won't be able to do things in person as much. And so, or at least for a little bit, that I think things are going to transition completely. But this movie, what a relic.
Yeah. And I started writing down, even in the opening scene where, it takes place at like a toy store, and I was writing down all of the games that I remember from that era, like Fireball Island, like all of these like 80s toys and 80s memorabilia. Like it was just commercialization all over the place. And then the stacks and stacks and stacks of these, the Chucky dolls, it definitely brought me back to even when he's making lunch or breakfast for his mom, and it's like that sugary cereal. I remember so many different kinds of like commercialized cereal in the 80s with like Star Wars and Mario and like all of that, where they would have their own, and it was all the same cereal. They just would put on a different box. And
it totally was. But the toy changed, so that's important.
Right, exactly. It brought all that back. But, one of the things that kind of bothered me this time a lot more is that I never really considered is Andy is sleeping with this old man. Like in the bed, he's hugging on him. It lends this very kind of creepy, like it's a doll, but it's not.
That's true. But also like, I feel like I would be more creeped out by it if that guy was like, because Chucky doesn't want to cuddle.
Right.
He's
right.
so pissed. You know what I mean? Like the worst thing Andy could do is like try and love him. Chucky doesn't want anything to do with that shit. So this is actually Andy torturing him.
You almost want to hear what's like going on in his mind during that time.
Yeah, he hates this.
When I was a kid, the thing that I remember in particular about this movie, because it never really scared me, but the image that would stick in my head was the burnt Chucky at the end.
Yes.
And it was because there was like this kind of pink thing on his face that looked like a worm. And the kind of like desiccated corpse that's there with like a worm hanging down his face haunted my dreams.
So even though I didn't see it, one of the things that scared me the most about the audiobook I got from my neighbor was the fireplace scene, because he described the way like it looked when he was trying to scream his way out. That when I was a kid, and that his eyes, that you could see his eyes. And of course I saw that moment and I was like, no, this is terrible. So I would like walk around, like whenever I was in around fireplaces, I would get nervous. I would look inside to see if there was something in the ashes. Yeah. So like Chucky fucked with me.
Yeah, it did. Wow. Do you remember the Simpsons episode with the creepy clown?
No.
The creepy clown toy. There's like I think it was like one of the Halloween episodes, and Homer brings home a crusty doll, the clown, and it tries to kill him, and the solution at the end is
Yep, here's your problem. Someone set this thing to evil. I love you, Homer.
Come here, you.
Oh, well, this is the problem. You had the switch flip to evil. So they had to switch it to good. And every time I watch this movie, in the moment where she like flips him over and she's, realizes the batteries aren't in, I was like, just flip the switch. Just flip the switch.
Amazing. So do we want to give this our final words?
Yes.
Cool. So, Terry, how many friends to the end out of 5 do you give Chucky? And what are your final thoughts? Not Chucky, Child's Play. Jesus.
I think I'd give it probably 4.5 friends to the end. I think this movie has aged incredibly well. I think even the puppetry has aged really well. And that's one of the things where I love practical effects, and some of the moments, like when he pops up over the sofa and he has that look on his face for the first time when he's going after Karen, like those scenes have aged so well, and they're still so incredibly filmed, and just the practical effects are just so good. So I got to give this 4.5 friends to the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha. What about you, Mary Beth?
I think I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay.
I did not have the same kind of like nostalgia for it, but I was just because of what I knew about it from like osmosis, like the cultural osmosis, I thought it would be much funnier and a lot less emotionally intense. And so that was really surprising and really great for me to see. I like it, especially like when horror looks at family, obviously, but also like kind of to start interrogating class dynamics, which I think is really fascinating, and especially because they live, like, there's a lot about Chicago in this movie too, like the south side of Chicago, etc. But I can go on a whole tangent about that. But anyway, I really enjoyed it, and I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked it. So it's 3.5 out of 5 for me. And Sam, what about you? What is your final friends to the end out of 5 for Chucky, and what are your final thoughts? Child's Play.
For me, it's 4 friends at the end, because I wish that the voodoo instructor John. Oh, it's just like anytime I see that trope, of it just feels like the whole mystical accessory to this.
Yes.
I'm like,
yeah,
I hate it. I just wish I could get past it. that part doesn't age as well as the rest of the film. But that said, the practical effects, the emotional core of the film, all of those things, and the performances, I mean, all of that really holds up. And I truly think we wouldn't have so much of horror if it weren't for the Child's Play series. And it all started with this one. And I'm really excited for you to see the queerer ones. I think you're going to love it.
Cool. Awesome.
When it happens.
So which Child's Play movie is your favorite, though, Sam?
My favorite's Seed of Chucky.
Okay.
I think I saw it, I can't remember, but I think I saw it 3 or 4 times in theaters.
Oh, wow.
And it was like the first movie I kept seeing again and again. I got to like literally tell Don that because I interviewed him for the doc. And his face, like, it was just like, I don't know if he believed me. Because people didn't see that when it came out.
Right.
But my friends and I did.
Oh, I was there. I was there in theater. I loved it.
Yeah. It was like, finally, a movie for us.
Yes. You know? I was still in the closet at that point, too. But
it's a real treat. So that would be my recommend. But I do think, though, if you're going to watch Seed, you should probably watch Bride first.
Yeah.
Because you'll appreciate Seed more because they introduce Tiffany first.
Okay.
Love her.
She's great.
Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us to talk about Child's Play.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
It was so
thank
good.
You.
This has been so lovely. Thank you, friends.
Thank you. Where can our listeners find you, and what do you have coming up?
Don't find me. Oh. They can find my MySpace. They can find me at Sam Wineman on like everything. And since Andy was a previous guest, Andy and I make music together, and we just made a song called Quarantine My Heart, and you can hear that on Bandcamp. And I think by the time this comes out, it'll be on streaming platforms in June. So
perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've heard from us, but listeners, we want to hear from you. What has been your experience with Child's Play? You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I'm at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. It really helps us out.
Yes, it does. Thank you to Steve Ronald for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you to everyone for listening. Stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Won't somebody please think of the children? Somebody please think of the children. Somebody please think of the children.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.